All right, welcome to the first episode of the Scalecast. Comes out of a necessity to talk about outbound in 2025, and in particular in the age of AI. Arno, you're the co-founder of Scalelab with myself as well as Scalist. So Scalelab being an outbound agency, which Thibaut joined, being previously a client last year, and decided to join as a business partner and managing director of the agency. Arno and I were both founders of Scalist, a SaaS that's used by salespeople who basically create their contact list from a LinkedIn Sales Navigator and the data points like emails, phone, but also more and more asking about how can I use the AI for my outbound. That's the question that comes a lot around these past few months, especially we here 2025 is the year of AI agents. And there's a topic we talk a lot about when we thought it'd be really good to do a first episode about this, which is AI in 2025 for outbound sales, how to use it before it uses you. So big topic. I think we definitely have Thibaut, who has a lot of things to say on the topic. I'll give you the hand, but before we do that, I'm thinking we should probably start with having a bit of a zoom out. I mean, we're 2025. Everybody talks about AI and how you should use it. You hear different models and so on. But 5 years ago, when Arno and I started the agency, which is an outbound agency doing email, LinkedIn, and cold calling as well, there was none of this actually.
So a bit different game.
Arno, do we want to take like just a few minutes to get some context about why we started at that time and what it meant to do outbound back in 2019, 2020?
The funny thing is, remember, like when we signed our first client, it was June 2020. I won't mention the name of the client, but we both know who it is and what was the company. We were using mail merge from Gmail.
Yeah.
You have you tried that before?
No.
So
it looks ancient.
Yeah, so I think it's like you have a CSV and you load everything into Gmail.
Okay.
And it sends everything like it sends all the emails like straight away. And you could send like, I don't know how many emails we were sending with like 100, like there's no limit basically.
Okay.
And at the time, it was state of the art. Like you use this, you're like, okay, you know this stuff.
and we were doing the same for the follow-ups. And we were using like Phantom Bursters to scrape the data. Phantom Burster is a great company, and they're still here, and I'm very happy for them. But that was like the main tool that you could use, and Lemlist was kind of popping up in 2019, 2020. It was very, very different, and it was like a lot more manual stuff. But it worked. It worked, and I would say I think there is a shift for me when you had like 2020, there was like COVID. All the people, all the companies that were not doing anything online. I mean, what I say online is they were like still going to trade shows, still like doing like road shows, like visiting their clients in other countries or their cities, doing like face-to-face conversations. They were kind of lost at that time. They were, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And that's when cold email became very popular. And then progressively you had like all the tools that came out. And now we are in 2025 and you can automate like almost everything. I mean, a lot of things, and not really having to think about, is this going to work, or do I need like to have all my stack like this, or do I need to do any like manual input? Of course you have to do a little bit, but it's very interesting.
I think at that time, just this question actually for you as well, because at that time, like 5 years ago, you were really like in the known, like really top notch. If you were using maybe 1, 2, 3 tools that were probably just like getting data or just for sending emails, everybody was doing it manually. Still to today, I mean, like a lot of people are doing, copy pasting their emails and just sending it to
Still in 2020.
So today, but it's just the options of things you can do today. so huge. And the reason why the business had started also at that time is there was a gap of knowledge. And we knew how to do sales and we knew how to do it with some automated systems that were from that time. How did you, Thibaut, at that time? Because you built up a very successful company with Tarts and Pops. Probably built the dream of an entrepreneur, which is having a business that runs without you, and therefore you can also spend time on another business.
Yeah.
How were you doing sales at that time? We didn't know each other for the background in
Well,
2020.
I come from a background of scaling with people more than scaling with tools. Tools came much after in my journey. So the way I was handling email was I was doing it myself, building the list by myself. I mean, gathering the emails, copy pasting in an Excel file, like doing it manually. Obviously, burning the domain. Which I didn't realize until it was too late. But so this is how I was doing it manually until I realized that tools are, I mean, you can use many different tools to do many different things. And nowadays I feel people are shifting to, they're over relying on tools, I would say. And I think some people, especially if you come back to AI, a lot of people think AI is going to solve all their problems. And AI is just a tool. And so understanding how to use the right tool, I think it's more important than which tool you can use. If we talk about Scalelab and how do we, I mean, what's our stack? I'm sure we could replace most of our stack with equivalent softwares or companies, I mean, different solutions, and get pretty much the same results. We choose to work with one software rather than another just because it's easier or because we know the founders, but it's a choice. But we have a lot of tools at our disposal right now that we didn't have a couple of years ago. But I think how we think a campaign or what's the strategy behind it, that's still a very, I would say, partially human process. We can use AI to do that. But the way AI is working right now, you can't really outsource 100% of your business to AI, or at least 100% of your thinking. You still have to think. I read something this morning that was very funny. Turns out, if you ask an AI to diagnose a disease, it does a better job than the doctors themselves. So identifying, like, you can use AI for this type of thing, identifying patterns and everything. But then if you give AI to a doctor to use, so there's three pools of people: the AI only, the doctors only, and then the doctors with AI. Doctors with AI perform less than the AI alone because they don't know how to use AI.
Doctors with AI?
With AI.
Okay.
So you'd think normally if you take two tools and you combine them together, you should have an outcome that is better than each of the individual output. But it requires you to have knowledge on how to use the tool first. So I can give you a very technical, advanced tool to how to build a house. If you never built a house, you're still not going to be able to use it. And so I think that's a misconception about AI. People need to learn how to use it first and know what they want from it, as opposed to use it for everything without really knowing what they're doing.
No, that's a super interesting example. I mean, like, if we come back now to 2025, and even let's say last year with generative AI, anybody can create an email. And that's like, even my grandmother can do it. Just say, type an email, write an email, and you'll see text coming through. But you'll not be able to identify whether that's a good one or not, just as a matter of example.
Or you need to have the knowledge.
Yeah, I need to have the knowledge, exactly. And that's to your case. And I think because of this, in the world of sales, we end up with thousands of emails received as a user. I'm not even talking about those who send them, but your inbox is flooded, like, I don't know, maybe 10 times, 100 times more than it was before, with really, really, really crappy emails or like even LinkedIn messages, because people will rely on the AI doing the thinking, not being able to, like, kind of edit, saying, okay, this is good, this is not good, and just think, okay, if I do the numbers game, I can go for that. You said earlier you come from a background of scaling with people, and you went down the rabbit hole of tools and AI. I want to say, I mean, you were a client of ours last year.
Basically
2023, 2024,
Exactly. So end of 2023 to mid 2024. And then you decided to join the company. We've been talking like for maybe 6 months before you did. What's happened? Really, what happened?
Here with us. As I said, I come from I mean, I scaled the company to $1 million with people and tools, but with people. And with people comes values. And I think I built a company on customer service and a good product.
Maybe before you explain that, what were you doing before? Like, what was the business?
Oh,
I guess we didn't share that.
could be interesting thing to mention. So I started a cake shop with my best friend. So we are now one of the best cake shop or dessert in Hong Kong. We've been awarded best dessert in Hong Kong in 2021, 2, 3, 4, and 5, or pretty much.
We tasted again this week with Arno.
Yeah,
and
yes, I took you to the store.
Really, I passed by your shop actually last night.
Nice.
Like completely randomly.
He was hungry. He was hoping you guys were all.
So we sell cakes, and so cake by essence is a non-scalable business. So I spent the last 10 years trying to find a way to scale the business, or at least run it on autopilot. And so I succeeded in 2023, pretty much, and then it kept going until 2025, and actually was going more without my input than it was when I was heavily putting effort into it. So I would say the systems are working, but mostly it's the customer experience that's good. The process that we have are good. And so to come back to your question, what made me work with you is because I experienced firsthand the quality of your service. So I know that customer service can make or break a business. And so you had a good customer service from the onboarding all the way to the offboarding. I was very, very satisfied. I kept recommending you to whoever I could. And the second thing is the product. We've got some really good results in 2023, 2024. And we generated a lot of leads. I mean, you generated a lot of leads for us. Obviously, we were bringing cakes to pretty much every people. I mean, every time you got us a lead, we were doing the groundwork, but we did sign a lot of those deals. And so that's thanks to you guys. And thank you for that. But so the reason why I chose you is because we are aligned on the values of customer service and delivering something that is worth it. I mean, make it worth it to the end customer. So these are things that I personally value. And also I've seen you work, both of you. And so there was definitely something. It was the timing was also right because I was bored, with retired. And AI was something that I started to study a little bit on my side. And you said it's definitely a rabbit hole, and I amplified that since I started with you guys. It's really it's crazy what we can do with AI and apply to sales in general, not only outreach but sales in general. I found it fascinating, and it surprised me how few salespeople are effectively using AI when you can do really amazing things with it.
Yeah. But that's the real question then. What are these amazing things?
Yeah, what are they discovered?
Because, like I'm looking into it every day. I'm testing stuff, but I know that you're spending a lot more time, and you really like probably in the high percentile of people who are looking the details of the application of what you can do with it, whether that's content creation, sales in general. But it's still like it's so far-fetched. You're like, okay, it can do AI and it generates text, but what are the results I can even expect? What can I really do? I'm a salesperson starting today in a company. What is there I can do?
And what surprised you? I think to complement what you said.
I think in one sentence, you can become a one-man army with AI. And that's something that used to take 5 people, you can now do alone. You can generate amazing infographics using a single tool, which would have taken you cost you money either if you outsource it, or taken you a lot of time and skills doing it by yourself to get a crappy result if you didn't have the right skills.
Do you have any tools, like for example, that you can use to do infographics?
Yeah, napkin.ai is one thing that we use actually. We all use it. It's great to create infographics. One sentence gets you a very nice, and you can customize, and it's very user friendly. I think those softwares that manage to have a very, very deep understanding of what the user is asking, but do it in a simple way are the ones that wins for me. So napkin.ai is very easy to use. Claude is the best for writing content in general. I don't know when this podcast is going to be released. By the time it's released, possibly it's no longer the best, but things change very fast. But anyway, Claude right now is the best for writing, you can create your own styles. So if you feed Claude enough data about how would you normally write a LinkedIn post, for example, what's your style, Claude can replicate that very easily. So Claude from Anthropic, that's the tool that I love. I think this is my number one, my favorite one. And obviously there is all these chain of thought models that reason for you, so that can take more time to get an output, but allow you to virtually ask anything. So the one thing that I love to do, for example, is craft a follow-up email with AI.
Yeah.
I think it's underrated, really. I think there's a lot you can do with a good follow-up email.
After, like, maybe give some context about what type of follow-up email do you send, and what like why do you send follow-up
Okay.
emails?
So
I know, but
yeah, definitely. So let's say I hop on a call with a potential client, a prospect. For the first thing I do is I use Sibyl or any note taker that can output a transcript of the call. So I do not have to take notes during the call. That's already a life changer. I mean, it's not new technology, but if you're not using it right now, you should, because it's really a game changer.
Oh.
So you can actually keep eye contact with your prospect. You can keep engaging, asking the right question. You can really take the time to think. You don't have to, you're not 10 seconds behind because you're writing notes. So that's the first thing. At the end of the call, whatever you said during the call is in the transcript. You take that transcript and you feed it into an AI, Claude, for example. And you ask that AI a very simple question. Craft me a follow-up email. Short, no nonsense, whatever your style is. And so the one trick I use is that I ask the AI to craft the email with the idea that my client, that my prospect is actually a client. So the prospect is already using us. And so what are the next steps if this customer was already using our services?
Mm-hmm.
So doing this crafts you a very punchy, short email that emphasizes the next steps as if the target was already working with us.
Okay.
And that's something that really works, because you've had, first of all, it comes very quickly after the call.
Which I think is very important, because I remember back in 2016, 17, when I started doing sales, we were like going to meetings with notebooks, and then, you write everything, and then you spend an hour and a half with someone, like in a face-to-face conversation. Usually we used to go to their office. And after that, you have like, okay, I need to follow up. I need to reread what I wrote. Most of the things that you wrote on that notebook, you can't even reread. Like, you can't even reread yourself, because you wrote it like super, super fast. And I remember I had like trouble like remembering, okay, what did he say again? It was very annoying, very, very annoying. So I agree with you. CBD is a life changer.
Terrible at remembering numbers for some reason. I remember how I felt during the conversation. I remember how the person was, the end gesture, the whole vibe of the person. But numbers is something that I have really, really issues with when it comes to remembering them. So Sibyl gets all the numbers right, the percentage. And so you can actually easily, someone can mention something very important. The devil is in the details. So sometimes people can tell you something very valuable, and you're going to ask a few questions about it. But, if it's an hour-long conversation, you may not remembering at the end of the discussion. So having it written somewhere is really good.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that AI has changed for us, is the ability to ask questions about a certain topic. The topic could be this discussion that we're having here. Asking specific questions about that, and say, okay, they say something at the beginning about this. Can you rewrite it for me in a format that I can easily consume? That's game changing.
Yeah, you're both saying, things that are very interesting practically in terms of what you could be doing with AI. It's good to have that perspective. I know a lot of the listeners that we have are typically people who are, say, beginner, intermediate in how they feel, and they want to definitely ramp up being advanced and expert level and all of this. You found out about all of these applications, or all of the stuff you could be doing. That's probably time you spend, but there's a knowledge gap essentially. How have you found, Arnaud as well as Thibaut, a way to actually
Mostly him.
identify this? How do you know what to look for and how to apply it?
I think Arnaud can also will agree with me, is we are salespeople. So we know what it is to do sales the old school way. And I think Arno, even probably more than me, has been trying to use tools for many years to make his salespeople job more easier. And so now we reach a point where a lot of people have stopped looking for new tools, or maybe they're overwhelmed with tools. I don't know.
It's overwhelming, yeah, definitely.
But the tools are evolving. And so I would say today is the day where the knowledge gap, I mean, it's never been greater in terms of what, how people are doing business right now. There's really two schools. There's those who are doing it old school and are not using AI, are not leveraging, are probably following people on LinkedIn, messaging people on LinkedIn manually, doing all that stuff manually, and are not automating anything, are not using AI in any way. And they're successful. I mean, they're successful. They could be, because they are doing business with people that are usually like them. And on the other side of the spectrum, you have people who have automated everything and run empires with one or two people. And in the middle, there's a lot of overwhelmed people who are not specialized or don't have the network that's required to do things the old school way, but they don't have the knowledge to do it in the new school way. And so they're in the middle. And I think for those people, there's a lot of small things that can be done to really, really make your life easier. Like choose one. And I mean, choose one AI model and stick to it. You don't have to use them all. I've been using them all. I've been comparing them all. And the truth is, yes, some are better than others in some tasks, but on average, it's still doing they're all doing a decent job. And if you're starting from zero, whatever you choose, go for something free, ideally. They all have free models.
So for example, for you, like Claude is better for writing content. And how would you use like other models, like for example, OpenAI? Is like how do you use it? If you use it?
Well, OpenAI is difficult to use in Hong Kong.
I forgot that.
So OpenAI is great, but it's not. It's not easy to use in Hong Kong.
Move to Singapore.
I could move to Singapore and use it. Yeah. The other, so my top three are Claude for writing, and not only writing but also concatenating everything. So if I'm asking a lot of things and I'm feeding it a lot of information, I'm asking Claude to basically put it down into something that I can consume. I use DeepSeek when it's working, and DeepSeek is overwhelmed right now by everybody's trying to use it because it's the most powerful model and it's free. So because of that, everybody's using it around the world, and it's always, the servers are always down. So when I'm not using DeepSeek, I'm using Qwen, which is an equivalent to DeepSeek. It's also free. It's also Chinese. It's backed by Alibaba, and it's working okay. And if you can't use any of these two because you don't want to use, I don't know, tools that are not based in the US, then you could use Claude solely, and it's enough. Honestly, it does a very good job at reasoning, and it's definitely a good enough tool for a beginner.
What's interesting that you said just earlier is the breakdown, of those who are doing it really the old school way. It's working for them, like they can do it, and those who've absolutely automated everything, and those in the middle who like don't have the network and also don't have the knowledge and how to do it. That's probably like the biggest gap.
It is.
Most of the times I feel myself inside of this. I do a bit of like my networking, of course, and then sometimes I feel like, oh, I figured something out with AI, but it's constantly changing. All the time, because we run an outbound agency with email, LinkedIn, and call, we always have people reaching out to us for training, asking us, okay, can you help me with this? Or even content. Arno has over 40,000 followers on LinkedIn. We've got a YouTube channel that's performing as well. What tips for all of this? We were talking earlier this week about a masterclass that's really focused on the outbound in 2025 and coming together and in the next years. What do you think can people expect from this masterclass? I'll say this is probably a question first for Arno, because he's been in the agency for the past 5 years, and I think what's your new view as a newcomer starting this gen would be helpful to see.
That's a good question. I think a masterclass for people who are just starting in sales and also don't know anything about outbound. And even if they have experimented outbound itself, they might not know necessarily what are the good practices, because you can, let's say, think that you're doing the right stuff, or think like, okay, yeah, sending an email I should do it that way based on my own thought process. But actually, there are a lot more simple ways to do it a lot more efficiently. And if, let's say, I'm able to, so I'm just going to give you a very simple example. And it's very basic. Like if you think about all the people who are using LinkedIn Sales Navigator right now, which is a tool that everybody, I mean, most of the salespeople on earth are using LinkedIn Sales Navigator. But I do calls with some of our users and paid clients for Scale List. And some of them, they don't know exactly how to properly map their ideal customer profile and buyer persona, which is like basic.
That's the foundation was
It's basic. It's like, imagine you do, and again, we go back to your old school way of doing things, door to door. Imagine you do door to door, but you don't knock at the right doors. You're going to waste time. Like, imagine you sell like a very pricey thing, and instead of going to the crazy rich neighborhoods, you go to the suburbs. It's not going to be as efficient because you're not going to knock at the right door. So if you put that process online, first thing is, how do you properly map your ideal customer profile and buyer persona, and why? And I think this is crucial. And then is, what is the messages that you're going to send to that ideal customer profile and buyer persona once it's mapped properly? Because we are in 2025, and since I would say 2022, I would say, you cannot do like spray and pray, meaning reaching out to thousands of people without any specific message that is important for them.
Yeah, I think it's to this point, it's all the more true that, like, since everybody can generate emails, as a receiver, you're so overwhelmed. So, the generic approach of, trying to find just as many people to hit, this is like working even less than it used to work. Because there's even more volume. It's kind of that vicious cycle. So if you don't make the homework, I totally agree. Like,
if you don't map your ICP properly in buyer persona, and you don't come up at the right time, it's going to be very complicated to make a difference, because people are going to be, but I'm not concerned by this problem. Like, if you talk to two sales directors, one is in the company for the past 5 years, and one is in another company for the past, let's say, 2 months, they're not going to have the same problems.
Of course.
They're not going to face the same challenges. So you don't talk to them the same way.
Yeah.
And the thing is, people, they see, sales directors, so tech industry, fine, same bucket. You cannot do that. And I think to come back on the masterclass and what I would really like to share in this content is really doing a lot more in a more scalable way. What are the simple things that can help you to generate results by knowing the fundamentals? And I'm not talking about like fancy tools. There's like simple stuff that you can leverage to help you generate results, and include the logic of sales in that process, just to avoid making mistakes. And then whenever this is understood and clear and results have been generated, now maybe you can go and do fancy stuff, or a bit more fancy. And that's how, those are the levels of progress that people can access, I think.
It's like what Thibaut said as an example for the doctors, like, if you don't know how to use, of course, the doctors, they have skills as doctors, but they say you don't have skills as a salesperson, knowing what you should be doing fundamentally. Then, like, learning how to use AI can really have massive leverage. But if you don't not even know what the fundamentals are, maybe you think you do, but like, if you're not generating results today, then you should ask yourself an introspective question. Am I generating enough results? Am I spending too much time on this? Could it be automated? Could it be done better? Do I need to work around those? Because most of the times I look at the trainings and they cover fundamentals of ICP definition. And I'm like, come on, I've already seen that. The truth is, every time I work on them, I'm like, actually, I didn't really know as much. Did I know about the signals? Did I know how to differentiate them and so on? But every time I do that training, like I get some more. And the next step obviously is adding up a section on AI and how to use that. Like,
the tools are getting easier to use. And to go back to the doctor thing that I mentioned earlier, I think the fact that a doctor with AI is not as good as AI alone or a doctor alone, that's a failure for both. It's a failure for AI. It's a failure for doctors. It's a failure for AI because AI was not able to be so easy to use that someone with no training could be able to use it using their own vocabulary and their own way of saying things. It's a failure for doctors because they have a tool that is basically more powerful at gathering knowledge quickly than them, and they fail to use it. So learning what to use, I think, is more important than how to use it and when to use it. So the things that I think this masterclass should be all about is catering to a market that we talk to a lot of people that they want to have leads, they want to have they want to increase their pipelines, but they're just maybe too early stage, or maybe they haven't done, even
they don't have clarity.
They don't have clarity, exactly. And so they don't have the budget also to afford a done for you agency or an agency that would actually go out and create all those leads. They don't even have the questions. I mean, they don't have answers to the question that we're going to be asking them. So it's not that we can't do much for them because they don't have that clarity that Arnaud is mentioning. So for these people, having the basic is much more valuable than working with someone that's going to do it for them. Because we will do it for them, but wrong. Because we are working, I mean, the key to our business is understanding who is the target. And we don't arrive in someone's business and in 2 weeks of onboarding claim to know more about their business than they do. So we trust them when they say, this is the people that we need to go after because they generate value for us. And if they're wrong about that, then everything else is not going to work. And ultimately, it's because we don't have the right information. So for them to do their homework and understand internally who are the target and what's been working for them, maybe look at their CRM. If they don't have a CRM, get one. These type of things, I think, are very valuable for companies that start their outreach journey.
Yeah. I'm super excited by this masterclass. It's kind of like the thing that I wish I had at the time. And like, from just being constantly messaged by like, okay, can you tell me how you guys do this and that? This was also how the idea of the masterclass came about. But you guys are right. I mean, the foundational stuff is really critical. And if you combine it now with how to use AI, I think it can make any powerful salesperson really. And like, this is where you surf the wave. Let's say how you learn to use AI in your world of sales instead of waiting for it to use you in a way just as a receiver, I would say. To wrap it up, guys, I mean, I think we've got some really good talks here, really good conversation. I want to ask a question for each of you, and you can ask in your own way. Maybe it's going to be the same answer actually for a combination. But we spoke about AI in 2025, and the things that you find out, the things that you can put in place now. But as you said earlier, it's not perfect. They won't solve all of your problems. So, question is, we're in 2025, in 5 years time, 2030. What are your bold predictions for AI in sales in 2030? That's going to give us an idea of like what you prepare for today. Yeah, go on.
I'll say we'll all have an AI assistant, and my assistant is going to talk to yours. So that means the rules are going to be completely changed because right now we are using tools to talk to humans. And I'm not talking to my AI assistant the same way I'm talking to you, which means I choose a prompt when I talk to my AI and I talk when I'm talking to you. If you have your own assistant, that's basically your spam filter or whatever, in the next 5-10 years, my AI is going to talk to your AI in the language that is not the one that we're using now. And so I would say the moneymaker will be those who understand how effectively you can talk to the others AI. So that will be kind of like SEO for AI. That's my prediction, and I think this is going. I mean, it's moving much faster than I anticipated. 6 months ago, there's a lot of the technologies that are really normal right now that were not existing 6 months ago. So yeah, I'd say in 5 years' time, we all have AI agents or AI assistants that are doing the job and communicating. So we just basically judge the output.
Yeah. Would you still go for a podcast, or would it be your AI assistant?
Good question. I think that's what we'll be doing. I would say the face of the company will still be a human, and so that means if you're a business owner right now, shift your game, start creating content on LinkedIn, start doing the human stuff right now, because the rest, I would say your AI will be able to do it for you.
How about you, Arno?
The thing is the content thing. I mean, we were looking at some shorts. I think it was Monday or Tuesday, of one guy who is very heavy on AI, and the video that he's pushing, I mean, they are AI generated already,
Yeah.
and it looks like he's on a podcast. And you can see, I mean, the name of the tool that he's using is Synthesia, I think.
Something like that.
And Synthesia. And it's written in the description, those videos are not generated by me, but by Synthesia. And you can see, like, if you don't pay attention, it's very, I mean, it's very, you cannot notice immediately that it's an AI, but if you pay attention, yeah. My prediction.
Yes, everybody wants to know that from Arno.
No. But what Thibaut said about AI talking with another AI, I agree with that, in the sense that I think every person, I mean, the objective would be to spend a very small amount of time or zero time doing things that have not a lot of value, or, like, for example, reaching out to people, organizing meetings, even like going to the meetings, like online meetings, then sending documents. But I still feel that, let's say you sign or you work with big companies, I'm not that sure that you would be able to send your AI close a 7 figures deal with like a Fortune 500. I'm not very sure about that.
If I can add on this, because we'll have to wrap it up, but I'd love to hear that. I would disagree with this in the sense of, like, maybe the decision in terms of responsibility of who signs, for example, may still remain a human in the next 5 years, probably not even in the future, but the decision making around the sales, like, is it the right time, is it the right qualification, all the stuff that we do, like on every calls, for example, can be done by your AI, my AI, and it in a much faster pace, because we can only do one-on-one. Like, we're recording this podcast, but we're not recording thousands of other podcasts at the same time, which AI can do. And I think the scale of sales, it'll be insane. I think you'll probably have people who will be billionaires with a 1 to 5 people team, because they can just leverage. Like, they'll have a huge leverage with AI. And I hope this
this is gonna happen. I think we're gonna have also a lot more people who are gonna realize, oh, it's super important that I create content. Like, because at the moment we still, even if we see a lot of people doing it and popping up on social media, but I mean, you need to be super consistent when you create content, and I think AI is helping with this. And I feel that more and more we're gonna have more and more business owners, like small business owners and also big business owners in the tech industry, leveraging AI to promote their content. But the outbound side that we are doing right now, I think is going to shift at some point, in the sense that I guess we're going to be able to be a lot more precise in what we do, because I think the precision right now of, hey, you can talk to Youssef because my AI identified that Youssef has this problem or might face that challenge. I think we're not there yet. It's more like it's a lot of hypothesis and guess, but ideally, and that's my dream since I think 2020 when we started the agency, is you have a massive. I mean, everyone who is doing business, who is doing sales, and who needs things basically in this world, they are interconnected. And based on the information that they give, like online, that they provide online, whatever it's content, whatever it's like what the company is doing, whatever is the company's updates, you have an AI interpreting this information. And instead of you reaching out, you receive a message from an AI saying, hey, there is company A in the United States. Based on their progress right now, based on the size of their team, based on what they have done in 29, because we would be in 2030, I think it would be good that you guys have a conversation because they might need your service or your product. And of course, you have all your competitors, but I think based on your top 5
This
competitors.
is already possible. This what you just mentioned is already possible with the current technology. Clay automation.
No, but not that way. Not that way.
The Clay scheduler, which is a feature.
Yeah. Not that way. I know, but not that way. What I mean is, it's not you who is like, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
No, but I know what Clay scheduler is doing, but what I mean is, let's say you are Thibaut.
I am.
You are selling, let's say, a product.
Yeah.
You have your website. You do your content. You push a lot of information online. And then there is a company with your exact ICP. You haven't sent any emails. You haven't done anything. But based on your existing content and based on who you are and based on their needs, they are like, okay, that AI is going to connect Thibaut to their guys. You haven't done anything. And then that's, the, how do you say un appel d'offres?
Tender.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it would be more like that. So a tender, right? So you do, like automatically you do tenders. And I think that's what I would love to see happening in sales.
All right, guys. This is a conversation we can keep on going for the next few days.
It's been going on for a couple of weeks already.
Yeah, so first episodes, AI in the age of 2025, and with the background of sales, masterclass coming soon on fundamentals, as well as how to use AI with your fundamentals to really kick ass actually in 2025 and coming. Next episode, we'll cover a bit more deep dive on what are these fundamentals and some small things you can do with AI practically to actually generate more meetings for your business.
Good.
Thank you for joining.
Thank
you. I will speak to you soon.
Thank you.